Hi, my name is Shandra. Nice to meet you. I wasn't always Shandra, though. Once upon a time, I was Shane. Yes, I was born a boy. And I grew up as a boy. And for as long as I can remember, my favorite thing has always been baseball. My parents were huge baseball fans, so they'd take me to the ballpark before I could even talk. I lost my mom when I was really little, so it's just me and my dad now. Dad taught me how to play. We spent so much time playing catch, I got really good at throwing. I pitched in Little League all throughout my childhood, and my dad came to all my games. And eventually, I got a scholarship to play baseball at college. As much as I love the game, I think what I love most about it is my teammates. When you go through all the ups and downs of a long season together, you become a really tight unit. My dad used to be a ball player when he was young, and he always tells me that's what he misses most about the game. The guys he played with, the laughs they shared, and the good times they had together as teammates and friends. There's really nothing like it. The baseball field is where I felt most at ease. And I spent so much time there because most of the time, I never really felt comfortable in my own skin. You see, I was living with a secret. Deep down, I knew I was a woman. Well, I didn't always know. At first, it was just a feeling that my insides didn't match my outsides. As much as I liked my teammates, I didn't feel comfortable showing them who I really was. They only knew me as Shane, a left-handed closer with a fierce curveball. But they didn't know the whole me, the real me. See, baseball is such a boys' club. In fact, if I was a girl, I wouldn't have even been allowed to be on the team. Don't get me wrong, I do have a lot of things in common with my teammates. We all had fun traveling to away games, we all liked joking around with each other, and most of all, we all wanted to win. Especially Tug. He was the most competitive guy on the team. Tug was a relief pitcher, but he wanted to be the ace. Then there was Jason. He was my closest friend on the team. We grew up together. Jason was the catcher, so he'd signal to me what type of pitch to throw. 1 finger was fastball, 2 was curveball, and 3 was slider. He'd been catching my pitches since Little League, so we could have whole conversations with just hand signals and looks. That probably had a lot to do with why we get along so well. But as close as I was with Jason, I wasn't sure if he'd ever understand what I was going through. If I wasn't really a guy, would he still want to be friends with me? I wondered. I'd always been different, even when I was really young. When my mom was still alive, she found me playing with her clothes and her makeup. I thought I'd get in trouble, but she told me I looked beautiful. She taught me how she liked to put on her makeup, and then she actually gave me a makeover. I'll always remember that. I'm close to my dad too, but there's no way I was talking to him about any of this. See, my dad's an old school guy. Growing up, he'd always talk about what it takes to be a man. When the going gets tough, be tougher, he'd say. He taught me a lot of things outside of baseball, like how to change a tire, how to fish, and how to sail. My dad would take me out on his boat all the time. As much as I admired my dad's fishing skills, his baseball knowledge, and his toughness, what I really wanted most was to make him proud and just spend time with him. I started wanting to look more the way I felt on the inside, so I kept wearing makeup from time to time. It's not something I ever wanted my dad to see, but one time he caught me. "What are you doing?" he asked. I was flustered. I just told him I just wanted to try it. He said, "Men don't wear makeup." I asked, "Why not?" He said, "It's just not manly." Why did I have to be manly? What is that even? Why did I have to be like a man to enjoy things like baseball and fishing? Why couldn't you be tough and tender? My dad was the toughest guy I knew. I wondered how much compassion and tenderness he'd have if I told him about how confused I felt about these things. I felt like I wasn't allowed to be who I really was on the inside. That really bothered me, and I started feeling a bit more bold and defiant. So I started dressing more the way I wanted. I'd always loved women's clothes, which I felt was more me. Once I wore these earrings to practice when Tug made fun of me. He called me a girl, and the way he said it was like that was a bad thing. I thought maybe he was just trying to get in my head because he wanted to take over as the ace starter. Coach said we'd have a pitch-off to see which one of us would earn the spot of starting pitcher, so Tug and I pitched against each other in a scrimmage. The pitcher who allowed the least runs would be named the ace. Tug was really good, so it was pretty close, all the way to the end of the scrimmage. Tug's last batter was Ryan, who I had struck out already. Jason suggested fastball, so Tug threw it as hard as he could, and Ryan smacked it out of the park. And that was the tiebreaker, so Tug lost. He got upset and blamed it on Jason's bad signals. Jason got upset. "You accusing me of cheating?" he said. Then Tug fired back. "I don't know, man. You and your girly girlfriend Shane might have some kind of secret code. Who knows?" Jason was furious. He shoved Tug so hard, he fell to the ground and hurt his shoulder. Now that Tug was injured, he couldn't even be in the rotation at all. Jason got in trouble, obviously. After practice, I told him I appreciated that he stuck up for me, but he didn't have to do what he did. "But he called you girly," Jason said. And I said, "Is it that bad to be girly? I mean, what if I actually was a girl?" Jason told me I was talking nonsense and to not take any crap from Tug anymore. Jason may have thought he was on my side, but after that, I was even more afraid to open up to him. That night, when Dad asked me how practice went, I told him it was fine, but he could tell something was really bothering me. I obviously had a lot on my mind, but I didn't want to get into it. So my dad told me he'd take me out on the boat tomorrow. That's what he does whenever he has a hard time. He likes to get out on the water. He says it clears his head. So the next day we went out on his boat. Being on the water always put my dad in a good mood, but I was still struggling on the inside. As usual, Dad and I didn't talk much when we were out fishing. That was our thing. We'd just sit in the boat and fish in silence. I truly had no one to talk to. And in that moment, I had never felt so alone. All of a sudden, I found myself crying. I tried to hold it together, but I couldn't. My dad asked me what was wrong. I just couldn't take it anymore. I could no longer ignore who I really was inside, and as afraid as I was of losing my teammates and my dad, the idea of continuing to hide from them was even worse. So I took a deep breath and told my dad everything. I told him that I never felt right as a man, and that I wanted my outsides to match what I was on the inside. A woman. I just wanted to be who I truly was. My dad looked out at the water. He didn't say anything at first. I told him I was sorry, and that I knew this must be the hardest thing for him. He looked at me and told me the hardest thing he ever went through was losing Mom. For the first time, he admitted to me that he used to be afraid that he couldn't live without her. But eventually, he found the courage to do it. Then he put his arm around me, and I'll never forget what he said. "A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what a ship is for." He told me he was proud of me for finding the courage to tell him who I really was, even if it was hard. I was shocked. I didn't know he'd react like this. I always saw my dad as such a tough guy. But I guess that's why he could see that what I did took guts, and he appreciated that. And so I began my journey to become a woman. My dad even wanted to help me pay for the procedure. First, he took me to a therapist, which helped me gain even more confidence. Before fully transitioning, I had to live as a woman for a few months, so I started wearing makeup and completely dressing the way I wanted to. My procedure took a while to heal from, but when I did, I couldn't wait to get back out on the field. Luckily, Coach kept me as a starter. He said he wanted the best pitcher, guy or girl. But it took a while for the rest of the team to get used to things. Eventually, they started to, even Tug. He told me he still wanted to compete for my starting spot, and that he didn't care if I was a girl. He'd show no mercy. I told him to bring it. Ironically, Jason was the last one to warm up to the new me. I thought he was mad at me for keeping such a big secret from him for so long. It turns out he just felt shy because I had become a completely different person, and I was. But in a lot of ways, I was still the same person he always knew. The same kid he grew up with, playing Little League. I had been so afraid to show my true self, for fear of losing my teammates, my dad, and my best friend. But if I had kept playing it safe, nothing would have changed, and I wouldn't have changed. I knew everything would be okay when Jason smiled at me and said, "It's nice to finally meet the real you, Shandra." Have you ever been afraid to show the world who you really are? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.